Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to K2's Dome 6 webinar. My name is Kyron Murphy. I'm coming to you from Renningen in Germany. We're having a nice, lovely sunny day today. I hope you guys are all well. Today, myself with a colleague of mine, Roddy Barner, who I'm hoping can join us. Ronnie, are you there?
I can, and I will join.
Oh.
Thank you very much for the introduction, Kyron, and thank you very much to all the attendees. I'm really happy that you are here, that you are joining the webinar. I will speak to you soon. First, I pass back to Kyron to say some more words, and then I will continue with my introduction.
Thanks, Ronnie. So today, before we get started, I'd like to point out some of the features we have for this webinar. You'll see down the bottom of your screen, there is a question and answer box and a hand signal. So if you guys have any questions throughout the day, feel free to put your hand up. We will hopefully get you to open up your microphone. You can have a chat to us. For verbal questions, we will probably do that at the end of the presentation. But if you feel more comfortable typing, the Q&A section is fine. So what are we going to discuss today? I'm glad you asked. So Dome 6 is K2's new flat roof system. It comes in an east-west and a south. And the two main points we want to discuss is that it is 80% pre-assembled and can be installed up to 70% faster. So that's not right. So the first point we want to discuss is the pre-assembled. So you can see here in front of me, I have a rail, base rail, nicely assembled. So this is a replica of a product that you will receive if you order the Dome 6. So the mat comes installed, the SD comes installed. This is at the correct distance for any module that you have. We have a mid plate and an end plate, and they can be seen here. So here we have the mid plate. This is for an east-west system, where it allows it to clip on this side and this side. And on the other rail, we have just a single clip. And this is for a clip on one side or the south-facing system, north if you're in the southern hemisphere, but S for single. So one of the advantages of this pre-assemble is that the components become a lot fewer. And I have pretty much all the components here in front of me now, and that's why I'll show them to you quickly. So we have the rail, which we discussed. We have some peaks, which we will go over in a bit more detail later. We have a rail connector set. You see it's similar on both sides, but I want you to remember this later. There's a little line on the top, and I'll show that, but this is important for installation. So line up, thumbs up, remember that. The last thing we have, of course, are our clamps. Need them for any system. I'm sure you guys are all aware. So the first point which we want to discuss about the Dome 6 installation is that it's been redesigned. There's no longer need for any tools, any nuts or bolts. It's effectively done through the new Dome Peak. So I showed this to you briefly before, but we're just going to have a moment here to discuss it in a bit more detail. So you can see it's a lot slimmer than some of the previous K2 designs if you've used K2 before. And this reduces the aluminium. It's a lighter product, but the strength is maintained through this updated honeycomb geometry. Another feature you'll notice is there is no hole on the bottom. And this is quite interesting because it has effectively redesigned the installation process. Another feature you'll notice is this little nose on the I'm sorry for not quite getting that. The nose up here. So this is for our S-dome system, our single side, and it'll come a bit more obvious later, but it's a nice little feature to improve the speed of installation for the S-dome setup. The last little feature I want to discuss is this nice little 10 down here. So this is easy to identify as a 10 degrees peak, or a peak for inclination of 10 degrees. In the future, we will be offering a peak in 15 degrees, but at the moment, the 10 is the only one available. I think in the second half of this year, it will be coming out. So back to the installation process. This is really, really simple, and I'm looking forward to showing it to you. So here we have the end plate for the single-sided system. It is simple enough to put the peak onto the rail, rotate it 90 degrees, and then we just slide in until we hear a, hope you all heard that nice click. So you can see there's a little bit of wiggle room here, but it's firmly secure. So I can really give it a pull, and it's not going to move. Just to demonstrate that again with the east-west system. Another beauty for this is that it's the same process for both the south-facing and the east-west facing. So we can slide the clip in, rotate it, and then just push. And so for the other side, as I said, the same process. And now that's firmly secure. So if for whatever reason you need to, or you would like to loosen it, you can. This is not something you would do, but it's just a good explanation of showing that this is not a permanent fixation. It's very easy to just loosen and then lift the plate up, and this can be retightened. So that was the first great little invention of the Dome 6. We've put our peaks on. What next? We want to connect the two rails. So I discussed, or I brought up before, the rail connector set. We'll jump back to the detailed view here, I think. So this is the product that, as it comes. As I said before, there is one side with a line on it. And this is important for the installation. Lines up, thumbs up, remember? Nice and easy. It also includes two hitch pins and the clips. So for installation, these need to be removed. Bring our rail over. Now we can simply slide in the rail, slide the hitch pin through. The clip then just slits in, firmly secure. Moving to the other end of the rail, we can just slide the rail in. Exactly the same process. Showing the holes are aligned. Put your clip in. And there you go. You see there's a little bit of wiggle room here. However, this is firmly secure. The wiggle room is due to the elongated holes, which I'll show you once we pull it out and just to discuss a bit more. But this allows for, if there's any thermal expansion within the rails, this can be made up for this movement here. Speaking of the thermal expansion, you'll know that notice that the module sits here. And so any movement of the rail won't have a direct impact onto the module. So that's a nice feature of connecting over here. And here's the rail set that we have just discussed. So these two processes have made the installation a lot quicker, a lot faster, and you'll notice we haven't used any tools. This is all being able to be done within a few moments, like we were speaking about it, which slowed it down a little bit, but I reckon we could cut it down to much quicker. And you'll notice that the only tool I use has with that hex key, and that was just to loosen it. So we don't actually need a tool at all for that, setting up the peaks and then connecting the two rails. Oh, I'm sorry, I had just mentioned that I would discuss this and I did not. So the elongated holes, you can see here. And this makes it a lot easier to install as well. So you don't have to align the holes exactly. It's a bit of wiggle room. So 70% faster. So you might be thinking, yes, you've got a new peak and a new rail connector, but is that really 70% quicker? And by itself, probably not. And that is why K2 has introduced a new measuring and setting tool called the Dome Speed Spacer. So I have a little replica one here. This is a bit smaller because we're on a webinar, and it's a lot easier to use. I actually have the larger one here as well, just to give you a representation. Oh. So this is a bit over 2 meters, and this will allow you to measure modules up to 2.15 meters, and that is what the Dome 6 is able to hold lengthwise. I love the color with these ones. They're nice and red, and the real version, you can use it as a tightrope walker if you want to. Although always remember to be safe if you're doing that. So we have the Replica tool, and this is a set and measure tool. So we first need to grab our module. Again, we have a replica one. Obviously, modules will be a lot larger. But we want to ensure that the distance from this end to this end of the module will align with our rails and the rail positions. So we need an Allen key or a hex key. You notice that these two black ends of the speed spacer, so they are loosenable, and you can slide them. And this is important to get the module, or to get the correct distance for any module. So first secure one end against the edge of the module, and then slide the other end. Be sure to use the silver point on top. You'll notice that the other end has nothing. And this is intuitive in my eyes. So you need to tighten from the top. So the silver bit has to be on top. If it's on the bottom, you can't really tighten. So ensure the silver and the thicker end is on top. Couple of screws. That's now firmly secure. So now we can measure, or set, sorry, the rail distance. So we can grab our rails back here. One I prepared earlier. I've always wanted to say that. So using the thicker end now, place that into the rail, and you'll see it fits snugly. We can now use this to measure the distance between our two rails. It's always important to do this with two people, because if you do it with one, there's a chance the rails could slightly move. So one person on this end, one person on this end, and then your rails are parallel. So I just want to show you another little intuitive bit. You'll see here how well this fits in. So if we were to use the wrong side, there's a bit of wiggle room, and even here, you can see that there. So you're setting the rails, you want it to be in the correct position. Put it in, there's no movement, and now you're good to go. So moment of truth, hopefully the rails are same distance as the module. So I'm going to take this back just a tad. And so you can see there, That's sitting perfectly on this side, perfectly on this side, and gives just enough space for the clamps. You see, it's not quite sitting at the edge, but the distance was what we, the width, sorry, was what we were looking for a moment ago. This is a good opportunity to show the clamps actually. So if the module's sitting here, we can take one of our clamps that I briefly discussed earlier. So can we just have a look at a bit further below? Yeah, the clamps, thank you. So we have here our universal mid clamp in black and our end clamp in silver. So both are possible in black or silver, but it's just to show that that both are available. I think we'll use black for this example. So Tilman, could we come back here, please? So to slide or to secure the module, you'll notice that the rail profile and the clamp profile are very similar, and that's because it's almost like they are designed for each other. It's not slides in nicely. Now I can tighten this just a little bit with my finger now. And it's just sitting there. So this kind of shows how secure the modules. I'm not recommending you tighten this with your fingers, so always tighten it to at least 14 Newton meters. But these clamps, very stable and very easy to install. You saw me just sliding it in and out. Moving to the other end, we could slide a mid clamp in. It's exactly the same process. Slide in, this sits here nicely, and then another module can come out for as far as you can go. So at the moment, we need 16 meters for the D-dome in lengths of modules, which, depending on your module size, will change a little bit, and that's in both directions. So 16 for the D-dome and 15 for the S-dome. Speed space, okay. So mini clamp, which we just discussed, but another really good feature of the Dome 6 is the new mat system. So the Mat S is a new product. It's very similar to a Mat V if you have used Dome, if you've used K2 before. However, this is designed for the speed rail system. So you notice there's a honeycomb structure. This is a reduction material. It's a little bit flexible, but it's very, very firm on the table here. And so this is suitable for many of the roofs that the Dome 6 will go on, or all the roofs the Dome 6 will go on. Foil, bitumen. I don't know if you guys saw that, but on the big screen, we had one prepared earlier because this is it sits in there really firmly. So another feature that the Dome 6 system has been designed for is the fact that modules are getting larger and larger. And this system, I said before, that the end point and the midpoint come in a fixed position, and this is set already. So how does this work? This is kind of one of the beauties of the Dome, the new Dome 6. So we just discussed the clamping on the SD end, and this will always stay there. This will always be on the corner, and this will sit like this. However, on the peak, on the top end, as the modules get larger, the position of the peak does not move, and the overhang of the module increases. So this allows us to install modules from a width of 950 millimeters up to 1060. So first, this would be around 950 millimeters, and this is moving up to about 1060. So you might be thinking, well, this is all very good, Kyron. You're telling us some great information, but is there any more? And I say, yes, there is. Another great advantage of the dome system is there is a lot less ballast. So we've compared a Dome V setup. So as before, some of you may know Dome V if you've used K2 before. This is another flat roof system, and we've installed a system on a roof of about 702 modules, and we have almost 2 ton of ballast. So this is 2.7 kilos per module. If we were to redesign this with a Dome 6, you'll notice that the modules slightly change, and this is due to the fixed spacing between the Dome 6 modules. But the big advantage is that the ballast is dramatically reduced. So we're down to about 700 kilos of ballast, and this is about 1 kilo per module. So in this case, it's a reduction, a huge reduction. Only 35% of the ballast is needed for the Dome 6 than the Dome V. So this will vary from project to project, but I thought this was a great example to show you all today. So one more thing before we have a look at some photos and get Ronnie to show a base, is that the Dome 6 can now be installed in combination with roof fixations. So if you have a roof that requires a lot less ballast, or is of an inclination above 3 degrees, this Dome Fixed Pro set is a huge advantage. So, just a bit noisy. So I have one here in front of me, and this is not a replica. This is the full version. So this is quite long. I was meant to show that it was telescopic, but not that telescopic. My apologies for that. So this will run between the 2 rails, and depending on the setup you have, the position of it will change within your module field. But I just want to show you the assembly process. It's really quite simple as well. So this roof fixation would be pre-installed. We are not able to install the roof fixation. This example is like a base plate, which you could adhere with foil, with some adhesive, or you could drill through the holes here. Alternatively, the steel rod coming out would also work. So K2 provides the adapter plate and the clamper, and this is in M10 and M12. And quite simply, we slide the clamper into the channel that's here, and then just tighten it. And again, I have just finger tightened that. And if you come out here, so that is fairly secure, and I've just tightened that with my finger. So it connects then onto the rails. We can show that as well. So for example, we have the S-Dome setup that we had before. Now it is then installed with a K2 slot nut, an MK2 slot nut. So some of you may be used to this if you've used K2 before. It's a very simple product. We won't be going into it too much, but you just slide into the rail and rotate. This then sits on top in the correct position, and we can tighten it. And then that is secure. From there, you can see now everything is secure just with me tightening. And then at the end, this is where the telescopic arm comes out and you're able to connect to the rail. So I did say this was the last thing I wanted to discuss, but I have made a slight faux pas. Apologies for that. And apologies for the loud base plate. For the S-Dome system, the single system, some of you may be aware that there is a windbreaker on the back of pretty much every setup. And I'd just like to show you that the Dome 6 has been designed with this in mind, because we know that sometimes it can be quite a hassle to align the windbreaker, hold it up, and then fix it. So before I mentioned that there were some small peaks or like a little nose ridge here. And this is designed to work with a Dome 6 windbreaker, which unfortunately I don't have an example for today, but I do have this is a speed porter from our ballasting system, which works just as well for this example. So you can see that sits in there just like that. And now if you need to, or when you need to, because you do, you can fix this with the fixations. It's a little hard to see, but there is a thin point as well here, here. Right? There, oh yeah, that's where we can see. So these lines match up with a slighter, thinner point, and this is where where we screw in the windbreaker. So, as I said, unfortunately, we don't have a version of the windbreaker, but I thought I would just show you our assembly instructions. So this can be found on our website. No, I have to. There we go. Apologies for that. So this can be found on our website, or if you can email us and we can send it to you as well. This has the whole assembly instructions in a lot more detail. So, and it's also a good place to review any of the information that I've said today. If you have, again, you can ask us questions. There's no worries there. So you can see here we have 3 screws which attach through the windbreaker, and the windbreaker comes pre-drilled with these holes here. 3 screws is optional. In some cases with high loads, it will be mandatory, but it will just depend on the project you have. So let's just jump back to our presentation. Oh, we've gone all the way back. Sorry for that, guys. So that was all of the physical presentation for today. If you guys have any questions, think about them now or ask them whenever you want. Ronnie and I will just discuss a few photos from projects that have already been installed, and then Ronnie will be showing off base and how to install K2 with K2 base, or the Dome 6 with K2 base. So here we have a project in Bayreuth, and this is quite a nice project. I think it kind of shows off a lot of the capabilities of the Dome 6. So there's 2 roofs, both D-Dome, and that's just a preference of the customer. It doesn't really, it's up to the customer if they prefer S-Dome or D-Dome. Both are great products, really. So you see on the bottom part of the roof that the module sizes are all equal. There's a few obstructions that have been easily worked around. And so this was, excuse me, it's quite a large project as well. So we have 2,000 modules. on this roof.
Yeah, and as you can see, it's not a complete flat roof, but it has a ridge. So it has an inclination of maybe 2 degrees, I suppose, 2 degrees towards north, 2 degrees towards south. And the good thing is that we have a D-dome system, so east-west inclination on both the southern part of the roof and the northern part of the roof, the north inclinated roof. So the good thing is that we don't need a south inclination on a north roof at all, because we just can install a east-west solution. So we have good inclination in the morning towards east and a good inclination in the afternoon towards west. So yeah, by installing a east-west solution on the north roof, we can avoid to have a south inclination of the modules and reducing the amount of modules on the roof. And still we have a excellent result.
Yeah. Yes. Thanks, Ron. I think we have someone with their hand up. We have a question from David. So David, if you could put your microphone on and everyone will be able to hear.
Sorry, I just wanted to ask, are you going to show us the assembly of the S-Dome as well today?
Sorry?
Are you going to do the S-Dome as well, the S-fitting as well, the south-facing fittings as well today?
No, we just did that. We just showed the S-Dome installation, or what do you mean?
Oh, sorry, I obviously got lost there, sorry.
Yeah.
Now, you're doing this east-west facing there, right? Are you going to show the south-facing ones? Are you going to show a couple of rows, panels in a row? No? I might be a bit confused, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so that's all right. All questions are welcome. So I showed one module before facing the camera, and so that was considered an S-Dome setup. That's sort of all we're really showing here physically today. Ronnie will put together an east-west system. I can show you the peak installation for the D-Dome. So it's the same process that was with the S-Dome, where we pull this over and slide in. So I mentioned before that this is just a replica piece.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, the actual length for the D-Dome, which would be this one with the middle peak, or middle plate, sorry, is 2.25 meters. So imagine this again on this side.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay.
No, thanks for your question. It's great to have participation, so we appreciate it. So here we have another project in Germany, in Freiburg. This is an interesting one because it uses both the S-Dome and the D-Dome. So on the roof on the bottom left, it would be an S-Dome, and on the two right roofs, or the middle roof and the right roof, we have D-Dome installed. So this was a little bit smaller than the previous roofs. This was only 1,500 modules, so half a megawatt. But what's really good with this project is we have a few photos as well. So this is the installation, or halfway through the installation of the project in Freiburg.
Yeah.
And I think, Ronnie, sorry, you go.
Yeah, and here you can see it's a gravel roof. So the Dome 6 is, as also the other versions of our domes, the Dome Classic and the Dome V were already. Also, the Dome 6 is good for bitumen, for foil, for green roofs as well, and for gravel. And here you see the installation. You see the middle of the installation process. So many module rows, we only have the, let's say the eastern part of the east-west installation, and the western part is mainly missing still. So there are some modules already, but so it's the middle of the installation part. And the other part of the project is on the left side, where we have a little higher roof, which we can reach with the ladder you can see there. So our colleague Udo, who had the chance to witness the installation, he could see that the installation was really, really fast. So he has visited several instruction sites in the past with D-Dome Classic, with Dome Classic, with Dome V, and now that was one of the first he could visit with Dome 6, and he said the installation, really everything went so fast, he could hardly follow.
And that's saying something for Udo. He's usually all over it. So here we have an example that's been designed in Augsburg, but what I like about this one is it's one really large roof. So we've got 1.1 megawatts installed on the single roof. And in total, it's about 11 tons of ballast. But you can see here, we have many different module blocks. There are sections that have modules sort of missing, or sorry, not missing, but have been worked around the existing obstacles on the roof. And it shows off the versatility of the Dome 6 and how it can be installed with base, which Ronnie will be about to show you.
Yeah, so thank you, Kyron. I think we can just start planning our project in base. So we'll just share my screen. Be that one. So let's go. So here you see a nice roof, not far away from here, not far away from our location Renningen. This is the city of Böblingen, where we have a really nice flat roof. And it's a pity that it's still empty. So I'm only planning it for webinar purposes, but maybe some of you have the chance to realize a project there one day. So go for it. As you can see, I already started to plan. I prepared something here. This is the starting page of our planning tool base, which you probably all know. I already defined the address up here in this field. So it's the Flugfeldallee in Sindelfingen. It's not Böblingen, it's right at the border between Sindelfingen and Böblingen. Then we have a name for our project, and we also have a customer and a contact person at the customer. So we can navigate either by clicking continue down here or just clicking on roof up here. So now, as you can see, I already prepared a roof, but I made that roof a little too large. So let's just click somewhere on the roof to activate the editing of the roof by, we will recognize that we will have the white dots in all the edges here, in all the corners. And now I have two possibilities to alter the size of the roofs. I can either use my mouse, just make the roof a little smaller here, still not received the right size. And I could also switch from the satellite view to the 2D view, and now I can just click on the sizes, on the measurements here, and type in the exact value which I know because I have, for example, the architectural plan, or because I have measured the length by myself. So let's take 115, and I made the change on the lower part of the roof, or on the upper part of the roof, or on both sides equally. So now it's getting a little smaller down here. Could be that you will not be able to hear me very soon because my headset is losing battery. So I will just be prepared by taking another headset. So please excuse that for a second. So maybe I can just continue explaining while I prepare my other headset. You can see that I already defined the building height and the roof pitch and the attic, the parapet wall, and the friction coefficient here. Please keep in mind, always measure the friction coefficient. This is a very important factor. You should not just assume this value. You really must know the value, because the friction coefficient is also a security factor. So if you don't know the real friction coefficient, your assumption will be either too high or too low, and in the end, maybe you will have too little ballast or too much ballast. And nobody wants to have too little ballast because this will affect security, and nobody wants to have too much ballast because every stone you have to buy costs money. So I try to change my headset. Can you still hear me, by the way?
Yeah, Ronnie, we can hear you. And I think as long as you don't have any cat filters, you're doing fine.
Yeah, okay, all right. Now. Can you still hear me now?
Yep.
Okay, great. So now it works again. So let's just have a closer look to the roof on the satellite view. Let's have a look at the situation. We can hide the modules, because then we see that we have some obstacles on the roof. If I show the modules, the obstacles are not as good as good visible than before. I already created one obstacle here. Let's give that obstacle the height of 0.5 meters, and also create a minimum distance of also
0.5 meters. And by doing that and confirming, I will have a slight red area around the obstacle. And if I go back to 0 and confirm, you will see the red area disappears. And so we have more space for modules. But very often you have to keep away from obstacle. That's why we do the minimum distance here. Let's copy the obstacle by using this little icon. So we have another obstacle now. We just move it over here. We hide the modules again, copy the obstacle, move it over there. Now we could do that again and again. I also could change the size of the obstacle by using my mouse, or I could again switch to the 2D view and define the size of the module by entering the value. Let's show the modules again and then do something else. Show the shading. So now we see that we have a shadow around here. And this is the shadow of the 21st of December. If I wanted to, I could now delete all these modules, but I would have to switch to the design view first, but let's do that afterwards. For now, I just wanted to show that, of course, we have a much larger shadow, for example, in August, a smaller shadow, not a larger shadow, of course. But yeah, and this shadow, of course, is much more important because in August we have the main output, and on the 21st of December, there is no sun at all. So the shadow is not that important on this date. What I showed you before, we are not only able to alter the size of the obstacle, but also the position of the obstacle. But first we would have to click on this icon, which shows not the measurements of the obstacle, but the distance to the roof edge. So we could, for example, put this obstacle not 1531, but let's say 15.5 meters away from this roof edge. Let's confirm this by pushing the Enter key. Yeah, I think that's what I want to show on the roof side. Let's not do all the other obstacles. I think the principle is clear. Let's just continue to the design area. Oh, now I'm on the remarks first. Yeah, it's always recommendable to leave a mark about which values you did not get from your customer. So I myself, I have some assumed values. It's the building height, the roof inclination, the friction of coefficient, and also the module size and module weight. I don't know, because this customer, maybe he just said that he uses Axitec 340 watt, but okay, Axitec 340 watt. There are so many and they all have different sizes and weight. So I just had to assume that it is maybe this one with 1684 millimeters and 19 kilogram and so on. Let's go to this area. So what you can see here, what I did is something I want to show you not to do so. What have I done? I have added one module field. I have added modules all over the roof and then deleted them by clicking, by using the rubber function. Works like that. I go here and I click and click and click and click. So seems quite stupid, but I can assure you I've seen that very often. Although a customer doesn't want to have modules all over the roof in the first place, he does create modules all over the roof and then afterwards he deletes them. Even if you can use the control key to delete whole rows or the shift key to delete whole columns, or also the alt key only in the 2D view, the alt key to delete whole areas. Anyway, it is quite stupid to use that function. So what would be the alternative? First, if we do something else, we deactivate the rubber function. Second thing, we delete the module array. So yeah, but why is it even if you have a even if you want to have modules all over the roof, why is it better to use module fields and not a complete covering? Let's go to the satellite view to answer that question. Let's hide the modules first. As you can see, we do have a slight ridge here. So our roof inclination, wait, let's go to our roof pitch of 2 degrees now is shown in one direction and not in the other direction. So in this case, as I planned it, we have the roof inclination only in one direction. But in reality, it is in 2 directions. So here we have a little ridge and we have a pitch down here and a pitch down there. I cannot plan it like this, but it's not that important. But it would be important to make a break here, to make a just to not to build the module block over the ridge, but to have one module block on one side of the ridge, one module block on the other side of the ridge. That's one reason why we should plan in a different way. So the other reason would be this thermal gap, for example. Yeah, now we have larger module blocks down here and a very tiny small module block up here. Of course, we can work on the thermal gaps also when we make a covering of the whole roof, but it's easier if we do several module blocks. So let's go to design. Let's delete our module field. So now it's gone. Now we have to create a new one. We choose our D-Dome 6 system again. Now we don't choose complete roof, but we choose module field. Go to add. Then, as I said before, we make one module field like this. It doesn't have to have the final size, because afterwards I can still change the size of the module field. It's no problem. I can also go to the 2D view and say, okay, I want to have 15 modules. Actually, it's not 15, it's 30, but it's 15 double modules. It's 15 east-west combinations. Maybe I want to have 22. I want to have 2 less down here, so I click the lower arrow. Let's go back to the satellite view. So we see we have the ridge here. We have quite much space around the ridge. Maybe we can make it a little larger again. Let's check thermal gaps. So let's go to this functionality here. We now see that we have thermal gap every 7 modules in a vertical direction and every 9 modules in a horizontal direction. We also have thermal gap. So that's the horizontal one. So now it would be easy. We have 21 modules. Maybe we want to have it symmetrically. So we say 21 divided by 3 would be 7. So then we would have 3 module blocks of the same size. Same thing here. Here we cannot see the gaps as good as we can see the horizontal one. So let's just make this gap a little larger, just for demonstration purposes, 500 millimeter, then we can see it quite well. Here we also have the situation that we have one single module column on the right side. Let's just check what it means when we have a look at the results very quickly. That means that we have almost no ballast all over the project. Here we have a little more because the row stands alone, and also here we have quite much ballast, but we want our whole project to have little ballast. So that's why we go back to design, we go back to the module, to the thermal gap functionality, and we choose 5 modules. And so we will have a more homogeneous ballast picture here. We already have less ballast on the right side now. So that is what we can do. We also could say, yeah, maybe I want to have an additional, or I want to move maybe this one from here to there. So I click here, I put another thermal gap there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So let's put another one here. Let's remove that one. You see, these are red now. That means it's not possible because they never can stand alone. So let's remove that one. And let's also remove this one. Okay, then let's remove that one as well. So now we have a nice picture too. It's a good separation of the module fields, I think. What we also could do, we could make this a little better, optimize it a little better. So yeah, that looks very nice. So, but now we have one too many here. So what happened now? Now we have a bug. So it's good to see that. So from time to time, it's good to press the F5 button if something in base seems to not work. Let's try again to get rid of this thermal gap here. Yeah, somehow base doesn't want what I want. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You know what I forgot? I set the 7 here. So of any reason, so now it's messed up completely. Maybe it would better to create a new module field now. It's always good when things like that happen in a webinar. So, all right, let's just keep it like this for now. What I wanted to show you as well is get rid of all the extra area of the module fields on around here. By pressing this icon, you can just make all the module field a little smaller. We still see the shadow here. If you wished, you could use the rubber function to get rid of all these modules, but we could also just leave them there, of course. So I also wanted to show you how to make another module field next to that one. So you see we have some obstacles here in the right area. So let's just make it like this. Make it a little smaller, it up a little bit, make it a little larger again, like this. Go to the thermal gap area, go to the maximum. If you don't know what the maximum is, just type in a very unrealistic number and it jumps back to the maximum which is possible. Also here, I could try 11 and it jumps back to 9. So yeah, another reason I wanted to show you, another reason why it's good to have several module fields instead of covering the whole roof. Here you see that we have a thermal gap here, but maybe it would be better to put the thermal gap here because we could save some material by doing so. Remove that one instead. Now we have an additional one here. So yeah, let's put that one in the middle maybe. Oh no, let's put this one here. Let's do it like that. Remove that one. Yeah, so that's better. But maybe we want to have a more symmetrical picture down here. So let's just end this function. Let's go to the 2D view. Click on that module field. Let's make it only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 modules instead of 21. 5 modules. Let's make the alternation down there. So we have quite a small module field. And then let's add another one. We have 10 modules now, so that's the separation in the middle, 5 modules. So what I wanted to show you is practically that now we have in the upper module field, we have a thermal separation here, and in the lower module field, we have a thermal separation here. So we are much more flexible when we use several module fields instead of one large covering of the roof. So I really, really highly recommend to do so always. Let's go let's head on and go to loads. Now, as we have a project in Germany, we have the advantage that the wind load and snow load are calculated automatically because we have a national attachment for Germany and most of the European countries. That means we don't have to find out wind and snow load and type them in, but base already knows that. The only thing we have to do now on this page is to choose the terrain category. Let's click on the question marks to know more. Terrain category 1 would be coastal area, category 2 open fields, category 3 urban areas and industrial areas, category 4 that 3 would be suburbs and 4 would be urban areas. So it always helps to jump back to project. Yeah, we scroll out and we can see that this is urban, but it's also, or yeah, let's say suburban and industrial, but it's also kind of an open field. So go back, loads the default value 2/3, which would mean open field / suburbs and commercial areas is perfect for our project here.
And Ronnie, that was not determined because of the terrain, was it? Like that is just the preset value?
Yeah, that's just the preset value, exactly. So
yeah.
We always have to take care about the terrain category wherever we are.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. Good question. Yeah, let's head on to results. So let's have another look on the ballast. Please be aware that what I did here is not, it's not the best the best design. Yeah, so you still could do that better. My purpose was just to show you some options, to show you how to do this, show you how to do that. So by doing so, I got a result which might be not the best result. You will probably find a way to do that much better. On this side, you can choose some extra articles, for example, the lightning protection, the TerraGriff, and also the Dome Speed Spacer, which I really want to have. And I want on this project, maybe 4 would not be enough for me, so I would choose 8 in that case. And I also want to have the TerraGriffs and some lightning protection.
Ronnie, just with the speed spacer there, I thought it'd be a good idea to point out that these are reusable. So once you've ordered maybe 8 for this project, next project you need, you won't need any because you can use them again and again.
Sure, of course. They are not for, no, it's a, yeah, article you just can keep and use it again. So let's have a look. We have one message. Yeah, the calculation of the TerraGriff serves a guideline, must be considered project specifically, of course. We'll do that later. So now we have a summary. We have one roof. We have architect module. We have a D-Dome 6, 798 modules. That means 271 kilowatt. This is our bill of material. If I so wish, I could still add some more items, whatever that could be, yeah. I could also say I don't need a speed porter, so I click it away because I still have them on stock or whatever. Let's now, don't forget to save from time to time. Let's now generate our report, our PDF report. And let's just quickly go to the ballast. Let's not look that close on the report, but let's just have a brief look on our ballast chart. And here we can see that we have a ballast of 1,800 kilograms. That means only 2 kilograms, 2.5 kilograms per module, which is really not much. And this, although I haven't optimized all my module fields. So I could do that much better still to receive a situation with much less ballast. So yeah, that's from my side. Maybe you guys have questions now. Kyron, are there some questions?
Not too many actually, Ronnie. But that is no issue. If people have questions later on, usually questions come to me about 4 a.m. in the morning. I thought, I should have asked that. Feel free to email us. You can get in touch with us on LinkedIn or on WhatsApp or Facebook, pretty much all over the place. So if you have any questions about the webinar or any other products, you can email or get in contact that way. We will be hanging around for a little while here. So if there are any questions that come to you in the next few minutes, we can answer them either verbally, you can turn your microphone on as we discussed before, or it's just in the chat. So we'll be here for the next 10, 15 minutes. But I think we don't have any right away. Ronnie, where are you today? It looks like you are not quite in home office, but
yeah, I'm sitting on a rooftop in Vienna.
Oh,
yeah. We planned and installed this project. I think 2 or 3 years ago. It was just shortly after I started for K2, so maybe it's already 4 years. In summer. Yeah, it's a nice project. D-Dome special construction on steel beams, fixed on steel beams. Yeah, hanging more or less freely over the outskirts of the roof of the building.
Yeah, with all the secure safety equipment, I'm sure.
Of course.
So we have a question. We have one question actually. Lightning protection. So lightning protection is a very important part. K2 doesn't specifically offer a system that is like a overall lightning protection to integrate with existing roof. However, there are the terraglyphs, and so that is able to ensure that the PV system itself is suitable for or has some lightning protection. It's always a very good point to conduct a lightning specialist or be in contact with a lightning specialist when installing. We do have some information. I can put that in the chat as well from our website.
Yeah, so it's important to say that the information we can provide now in the chat, we have a Kyron, help me. Empfehlung.
Certified?
No, we can recommend a recommendation for how to handle bonding and lightning, grounding and lightning protection. But this follows German rules, and maybe in your country the rules are different. So please contact an expert on the topic who also knows the rules in your country, because rules concerning lightning protection can be different in other countries.
Yeah, that's a very important thing to be aware of, obviously. I have just put that in the chat now. So that will take you to a website, and there's a PDF on there that you can download, and that's a good basis of information. Yeah, so if there are no other questions, thank you very much for joining us. As I said before, I hope all your solar planning goes well, and we will be in touch. As I said a moment ago, we'll be here for a little while, so if you have any questions that come to you last minute, feel free to, or we will answer them. We'll just put the PowerPoint back up, but we'll be hanging around for a bit. So thank you very much for joining us. Ronnie, thank you.
Thank you too, Kyron, and thank you all for attending the webinar.